My name is Emily Carter, and I live in the quiet suburbs of Austin, Texas. For most people, my life might seem perfect from the outside. A beautiful two-story home with a white fence, a husband who runs a successful construction business, and two wonderful kids who light up my world. Yet, behind the smiling family pictures and the cheerful holiday greetings, I often felt something missing in my heart, a certain warmth and companionship I longed for. My husband, Jonathan, is a good man. He is hardworking, responsible, and dedicated to providing us with a comfortable life. But as the years passed, his business consumed almost all of his time. Meetings, site visits, calls late at night. It seemed like our marriage had turned into a partnership on paper, rather than the beautiful love story we once dreamed about. I often reminded myself that he wasn't at fault. He was simply trying to give us the best. Still, deep inside, I craved more connection. That's where the unexpected twist in my story begins. Jonathan had recently hired a new driver, a man named David Miller. Unlike the usual employees who came and went, David carried himself with calm confidence and surprising kindness. He was in his mid-30s, tall, with gentle blue eyes and a warm smile that could put anyone at ease. He wasn't just a driver, he was attentive, respectful, and always seemed to go the extra mile to help. At first, I barely noticed him. To me, he was just another part of Jonathan's busy work life. But gradually, our paths began to cross more often. When Jonathan had late meetings, David would drop me at the grocery store or pick up the kids from school if I was caught up with errands. What struck me was not just his sense of responsibility, but how genuinely he cared. He remembered little details. My favorite coffee flavor, the kids' school projects, even the way I hummed softly when I was nervous. One chilly autumn morning, I stood outside waiting while David warmed up the car. The air smelled of fallen leaves, and I shivered as the cold wind brushed against me. David noticed immediately. He stepped out of the car, walked over, and handed me his jacket without a word. "You'll catch a cold," he said gently. I smiled, touched by his thoughtfulness. It was such a small gesture, yet it warmed something inside me that had been cold for a long time. Over the next few weeks, I realized I was looking forward to those brief moments with David, the short conversations in the car, the laughter when he shared funny stories from his past, and the quiet comfort of his presence. He never crossed any boundaries, never said anything inappropriate, but there was an unspoken connection between us that grew stronger day by day. One evening, Jonathan had to travel out of town for a business conference. The house felt unusually quiet without him. After putting the kids to bed, I sat in the living room with a cup of tea, staring at the flickering fireplace. Suddenly, there was a knock at the door. It was David. "Ma'am, I just wanted to make sure everything is okay while Mr. Carter is away," he said politely. His sincerity touched me. I invited him in for a cup of tea, and we sat across from each other, talking about life. I learned that he had once dreamed of being a musician but had taken up driving jobs to support his family after his father fell ill. His resilience and humility impressed me deeply. As the hours slipped by, I realized I hadn't laughed so freely in years. He had a way of making the room feel alive, of reminding me that life was more than routines and responsibilities. That night, after he left, I lay awake in bed, not because I had done anything wrong, but because I felt something stirring inside me that I hadn't felt in a long time: hope, excitement, and the reminder that I was still a woman capable of feeling alive. The following days only deepened this quiet bond. He would ask how I was doing, not in a casual way but with genuine care. He listened when I spoke, really listened, something I had longed for from Jonathan. It wasn't about romance or grand gestures. It was about being seen, heard, and understood. One afternoon, while waiting to pick up the kids, I found myself telling David about my love for painting. I confessed that I hadn't touched a brush in years because life had gotten too busy. To my surprise, he encouraged me. "You should paint again," he said softly. "The world needs beauty, and I think you have a lot of it inside you." His words echoed in my heart. That night, I pulled out my old easel and paints, and for the first time in years, I lost myself in colors and strokes. When I showed David the painting later, he looked at it as if it was the most valuable thing in the world. That simple encouragement reignited a passion I thought I had lost forever. But as the bond grew, so did my guilt. I knew my heart was drifting toward someone who wasn't my husband. I prayed for clarity, for strength to make the right choices. I reminded myself that Jonathan loved me, even if he didn't always show it. And David, despite his kindness, never once made me feel uncomfortable. He respected me too much to cross a line. The turning point came one evening when Jonathan returned from a long trip. He was exhausted, stressed, and distant. I wanted to tell him about my painting, about how alive I felt again, but he barely had time to listen. Later that night, as I sat alone, I realized something important. My connection with David wasn't about betraying Jonathan. It was about reminding myself what love and attention could feel like. It was about rediscovering parts of me that I had buried under the weight of routine. The next day, I asked Jonathan if we could talk. We sat in the kitchen, and with a trembling voice, I told him how I felt, about the loneliness, the distance, and how much I missed us. For a moment, he was silent, but then his eyes softened. "Emily, I had no idea," he admitted. "I thought giving you comfort and security was enough, but I see now that I was wrong. You deserve more than just stability. You deserve love every single day." That conversation changed everything. Jonathan began making more effort, not grand gestures, but small, meaningful ones. He took time to have breakfast with us, left little notes on the fridge, and even asked me to teach him painting. Slowly, the gap between us started closing. As for David, he remained a dear friend, someone who had unknowingly helped me rediscover my own heart. One evening, I thanked him sincerely. "You reminded me what it feels like to be alive," I said. He smiled warmly and replied, "Sometimes, we just need someone to remind us of the light we already carry." My story isn't one of scandal or betrayal. It's a story of rediscovery, of finding love again in my marriage through an unexpected friendship. Life doesn't always unfold the way we imagine, but sometimes the people who enter our lives, even for a short while, leave us with lessons that change us forever. Today, I paint regularly. My home is filled with colors that reflect my heart, and my marriage is filled with moments that remind me of why Jonathan and I chose each other in the first place. And every time I see one of my paintings, I remember that autumn when a kind driver reminded me to live, to love, and to believe in the beauty of life again.